Hi, Aaron. Hi, Judy.
Happy Friday.
Yep. Judy, you've changed.
That doesn't look like Judy.
Oh, sorry. I'm Avi. I don't know why it's showing Judy's name because Judy added me to the meeting. I think that's why it's showing as Judy's name. I changed my name here.
That's okay. Hi, Avi. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
very nice to meet you.
The same thing happens with Norm. Like as my team will come in, it'll call them all. It'll have them all Norm. So I don't know. It happens. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're finding your way here, even without a reminder sent out. We're in the process of changing our CRM, and I haven't had the chance to set it up to send out reminders. So I'm glad you guys are joining regardless. We'll get started as usual about 12:35 Eastern time, just to give people time to grab lunch or whatever and find their way over to the meeting. So we'll start in a little bit. Welcome, folks who are joining us just now. Usually get started about 1 minute. What is going on there? Okay, I think we're going to dive right in. So welcome everyone to the Torus community meeting today. As I expected it to be late, I had mentioned earlier that the mailer that I usually use to send out a reminder, we're switching our client and didn't get a chance to send out a reminder, but we're going to do something similar next month as well. So maybe we'll get a bigger crowd then, but this is fine. I'm so glad to have you guys here. I'm going to be giving a demo of Torus. Let's see here. Today's topic, Torus Demo, show you what's in the works and what's been going on with Torus. Wanted to let you know that as I do the demo, I'll probably point out things that are different from our legacy system. I'll also hopefully key you in onto upcoming plans for some functionality. Know that we kicked off this week actively planning migration. So what we mean by that is that we plan to have every course that is currently being delivered from our legacy platform migrated over to Torus. And as you can imagine, that's a lot of planning as Torus features pair up with the courses that we have. And so it requires some careful planning, and we're going to do some piloting, see some lessons learned, and then plan out, really hopefully get a plan in place for the new year that will tell everybody exactly when we hope to migrate their particular course. So know that's in the works. Don't have anything more at the moment for you about that, but as soon as I do, I will be sharing that out. And I'd like to have some conversation, not only to get your reactions from the demo, but also to talk about ideas for meetings. I want to plan like the next year of Torus community meetings, and it'd be really interesting to find out from you all what kind of topics you'd like to see me delve into and discuss with a larger community. So with that, let me go over to the demo. So I'm going to be doing this live, and so I'm kind of sometimes surprised by features that are coming online that have recently come on. So bear with me as I fumble through a demo, but it's pretty intuitive. I've been able to give demos pretty frequently, and you know, I'm always impressed when I come in here. The dev team's doing a fantastic job, and I think you'll be impressed as well. So I'm signing in. Anyone can go to proton.oli.cmu.edu. Here, I'll put this in the chat in case you don't have it, and sign up for an account. I'm an admin in the system, so I have a list of like every possible thing in here. But what I'm going to show off today for us is, if I can manage my windows here. I want to be able to find statistics. There we go. So we actually had to have a demo of statistics in here, and it's not a full statistics course. I had folks kind of copy paste. For now, we are working on ingestion tools all the time so that we'll be able to ingest content, but we wanted to be able to show off some features and statistics. So I only have a portion of the statistics course built in here. Not the whole thing, but it's enough to get an idea of what we can do. So this details overview of any particular project that you're in. Has, you know, title, course description. These things become pretty important, as well as naming conventions throughout. And you'll see why. It's always been important, but I think even more so now. You can invite folks to collaborate on your project. They don't have to already have an account in Proton. You can invite them just by their email address. I'm gonna move this window up here, and send an invite, and then they'd be invited to create an account, and then your course that you invited them to would be in their project list when they get an account. So really easy to get people to collaborate on your courses and see them right away. Just to note, we do have the ability to download the whole course. And we also have the ability to download the data in a data shop format file format to be imported into Data Shop. But we do have some tools, data analysis tools built in that I'll show in a bit. And by the way, feel free to stop me and ask questions along the way. I have, this is always an informal gathering, so I have no problem with you interrupting me and saying, hey, can I show me this? So let's see. In Torus, we have these this functionality menu on the left, which basically this is where you get into your course through your, well, this is the overview page we're looking at now. Then I'll show you objectives, this activity bank, which is a new feature, and curriculum, which ends up being your units, modules, pages, that sort of thing. We have you can review your course in various ways, and you can publish from here. Insights is data that has been generated on the course. And then of course I have this admin functionality. But let's just go into first objectives. So this is where you enter objectives for your course. And remember that objectives, learning objectives should be measurable, student-centered, and they're super important. They're like probably the most important element of an OLI course, because this is what enables you to tag to activities and generate those data streams per objective, per activity, that sort of thing. So different from Echo, if you're familiar with Echo at all, you can enter objectives by just, entering the information here and hitting create. You also, which is different from Echo, you can create learning objectives on the fly, meaning that as you're in developing pages and content and activities, you can create new objectives within those activities that will populate this list. So that's a little different than what Echo kind of forces you to populate your objectives in the objectives section. And then if you want to create something on the fly, you can't. You have to come back to this page and create them. That's a little different in Torus so far. We offer the ability to break down objectives in different ways. So you could actually now create a hierarchy where you have what we're calling sub-objectives, but you can imagine everybody's terminology is a little different. Sub-objectives, skills, knowledge components. You can create those from any objective, but we also have the ability to create an overarching objective over the highest level objective. So if I want to actually take this and make it a skill of another objective, I would use this breakdown tab, and that's what it would do. And it has a little, if you're seeing this pop up, it has a little description of what happens when you do this, when you use this breakdown. So just a lot more flexibility in objectives development, skill map development, as well as more tagging flexibility when we get into creating activities.
Aaron?
Yes.
How many levels down does the objectives go?
Yeah, there's still only two. There's still only two at the moment. I'm going to jump to curriculum bank. Well, I'll show you activity bank. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to really play around with this feature yet, but the idea is this will enable pooling, but it will also enable you to create just all of your activities, both formative and summative, in this place, and then add them to pages from the activity bank, either directly or through some, creation of parameters to add. So you could select by objective, by activity content, by item type, or tags. We're going to have the ability to tag activities, questions, however you want to call them. I kind of use those interchangeably in various ways, so that then you can find those and pull those in various ways as well. Again, not functionality I've used yet, but very excited about. So we're going to dive right in. So this is a subset of the statistics material. Just like any authoring tool, you have the ability to create pages or containers, like a unit. When you're in a unit, then you have the ability to create modules. And I love this breadcrumb trail up here too, which is something that is so nice to have. So when you're in a unit, then you have the ability to create modules. So those are just the containers. Pages, I'm sorry, my Zoom. Pages are added as practice pages, as just your regular pages. Graded assessment is a type of page now that's just the way you create quizzes or summative assessments in Torus. Right now, and I can show some of this creation. I just wanted to show you existing material in here so you get a sense of how something that we already have kind of looks in here. So these are a few modules that we've pulled over from, or pages, I should say, we've pulled over from our statistics course. And I'm just going to dig in. You can see from this view, you can get a view of, this is of the learning. So you're seeing the list of formative activities and objectives that are on these pages. You could get a detailed view that gives you information about updating information, or the basic view, which just gives you the titles. I'm going to dig in here to this page. So this is a page again that already exists. Right now, I'm just viewing it from the authoring perspective. I'll show you all in a minute, in a little bit, how it looks from the student perspective. But again, all the same things that a regular OLI course has. You can do images, tables, headings, text, and activities, multiple choice, and I'll show you in a minute what all we have here. So these are how the existing activities look on from the authoring view. What's cool and different about this is now we have the ability to review the answer options and hints with these tabs right in this view. If you're familiar with Echo, you have to open those up in a separate window to edit activities. Activities right now are editable in Torus right in the page. If I can get to a place where I'll show you how to add new content, you just do that by adding, contact or activity. This little pop-up comes up right now. This is a bug that's being fixed where, sorry for all the scrolling, where when you add it, the pop-up comes up here. At least that's what it was doing. See. So this will change. So this pop-up should come up right where you want to add the content, and you can add content anywhere in here. So you have these little boxes of content. I can put an activity right here if I want. And again, pulls up this pop-up right now. These are the things that are available to create in a Torus page. So HTML is just a box of content for text, images, that sort of thing. Adaptive activity, it's a special type of activity that usually is turned off, but it must be used because I'm an admin, I'm seeing it. But that will be available down the road. It's still being kind of worked out. Right now we have check all that apply, multiple choice, ordering, and single response. Or you can select an activity bank selection. I'm not going to do this in this course at the moment. We'll go to a sandbox course of mine and show you how to add these and what that looks like. But I wanted to give you just a sense of how.
Can I ask a question about that menu?
Yes, what?
So why, let's see, first of all, is there submit and compare? Is that the single response?
Yes, single response actually takes care of submit and compare. You can actually evaluate now longer text, like in Echo now and OLI, you can only have literally, you can have an input, a text input that just is one word. This can now evaluate a string, or it's used also for numeric input. Okay,
and then the other question is, what is the HTML truly HTML, or is it something else? Because it's not clear.
I believe it's HTML, just like it was in
Echo.
In Echo, Echo is with XML, but it's a mixture of HTML for the formatting.
But I mean, but that's hidden from the author. It just seems like I don't know, maybe not the greatest title if it's just like typing in a WYSIWYG editor.
It is that now. I can find out if they named it that because they expect it to expand.
Yeah, it's Greg sent it in the chat. He just said it's basic content.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
So yeah, maybe that should be changed, because I know what HTML is and how to do it, but I don't think a lot of authors will.
Good point. Thanks, Michael. So some things I want to show off before I show you a blank slate. I'm just wanting to show off some cool stuff with this particular course. There's already lots of content in here. And so what I wanted to show you, show off here, is the review and publish and the improve. So our review, we have this review, and here from here you can run a review, which will populate different types of reviews, and I'll show those off in a second, or you can preview the course. And for those of you who are used to Echo, preview course is kind of cumbersome. It's not in Torus. You can preview it, and obviously it came right up, and you can page through the course just like a student would. So that's cool.
Yeah.
These audit tools are always in the works, right? And right now they're just kind of, some of them are prototypes like the equity, some of them are good, or we want to add to these essentially to catch different things. Right now, if you are select to look at the accessibility review, you run the review and it'll bring up all the things. Right now it's only catching any images that don't have alt text, for example, but you can imagine we can add a lot of other things to this to catch other accessibility issues. You can toggle these on and off. You can dismiss them. So say I want, okay, this one's fine. I don't want it to have alt text. I can dismiss it. So a really good workflow to just review things that might be missing from your course and get to them very easily to fix those issues. The pedagogical, go ahead.
What happens if you run the test again? Does it bring it back? Because what if I accidentally dismissed it?
I think it brings it back. Let's see if it does that. Let's see, I can dismiss this.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Yep. Okay, good.
It did dismiss it.
I'm sure people are going to complain the other way, but sure.
Yeah, right. But good thing to note. And then pedagogical review right now catches when you have learning activities that aren't tagged to learning objectives, essentially. So you can go through and you can either dismiss them or you can click through and you can get right to them and remedy that. So the publishing process. So I want to show you some publishing stuff. In fact, let me go back to the content because I want to actually change something. So say I've been working in here. I'm going to edit this welcome page right now. Just say, hey, so glad. Course. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. But when I go to publish, we're going to go to, publish. You can see right here, it's telling me what's changed. It keeps track of all of the changes that have been made since the last time this course was published. And if I want to push this out to existing course sections, I can do that. And it forces a comment here, which is good because so people are, because you'll see it alerts anyone using this course to what the publishing changes were. So new changes. And so I'm going to publish that. Right now, I have this course linked up to the OLI Canvas instance. Right now, you can publish in a number of ways. You can publish through an LMS and through all LMSs. You can do that by following these instructions with your institution to get it set up. We have the ability to do open and free courses. So we have a number of those at the moment, actually, where we're publishing things open and free, which then provides a link that you can populate in a number of places or send out to students. Let me go back. And we're working on the ability, like regular OLI delivery mechanism, to we'll have a space where you just can do the usual, have a login for your students and a course key. That's been the works right now and will be available beginning of the year. We've focused on LTI first to make sure that was going to be really smooth and that we built in clear integration with grade books and things like that. So let's see here. Here I am in I'm going to log into my Canvas instance. That's where I have this course published. I'll have it published here. And when I go into it, it's going to show me right here. Now from an instructor view, this isn't what students see. It's what instructors see who are using this course and have set up a course section based on that package, that particular course in Torus. It's telling me there's updates. So I can go and I can look at that. And it's telling me what the updates are. I can view the update and it's going to give me a list and ask me if I want to apply the update. But right now I want to show you, first of all, right now the welcome page, we begin the short section. And now I'm going to go back out, view the update, publish the update, or apply the update. And then I'm going to go back and show you that it updated it immediately. So this is one of the best features of this, right? With both authoring and delivery all in the same application, we can publish typos instantly. Basically, if you want to fix typos and publish them, actually, if you want to fix anything and publish it out to your students, that's the mechanism, and it can happen almost instantly. You know, you want to accept those changes. We've just built that functionality in so that people can be made aware when authors make changes to the courses and can track those versions.
So Aaron, so is QA and production, are those going to be a thing of the past? It's all going to be, I guess, production?
It's all production, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, very exciting. So I wanted to show off that procedure because it's very exciting. And then I want to show off the other thing, which is data.
Aaron, got another question about pushing out to production. Yeah, the non-production production. Is there a mechanism for someone like me who's not the author, but the one who actually implements all the courses to know what version a particular unit is using? Because a lot of our QA, not QA, our support issues are, we're running this version, but it was fixed in the next version, but we didn't know we were going to get the next version.
Yeah, and forgive me as I'm not as familiar with versioning, but I know in the overview, it keeps track of versions. And then I know in the publication process, it will, it did have some versioning information there too. I think they're still working on the versioning aspects of this. But yes, we do know that's a use case that's needing to be managed.
Yeah,
So I think at the moment it's not quite there yet, but they are actively building in versioning so that you're aware of what kind of versions. And I think there was, let me go back out to a sandbox course. Let's see, and then go to an update here. Any changes, okay, hold on. You also have some control right now, if you can see here, who can create certain course sections. So you can say if you want this open or restricted. Let me see if I can go to publish here. So here's one where I've published, I've made a lot of changes in this course. I'm the author. And so here's some publication details. I can choose to push a major change or minor and change the, but I'm not quite sure, Mark, yet how this all works. But again, I just wanted to show you they are building in this ability to manage versions and track those better.
Yeah, I'm concerned, you know, an instructor who's using it isn't going to be looking to see which version they are accepting and complaining about something, and you have to figure out what version are they using.
Yeah, in fact, let's just try this out here, because I have, how do I get back out to courses again? I have this course that I'm working on here. Oh, this is my test course. Let me see if that's, if I have that and Torus. I think I do. It's this one. That isn't it. So let's see here. I'll test that out some more and let you know. But what we'll do, Mark, is we'll definitely pick your brain about how you think the best way is to manage that, so we can get some requirements as they build out the versioning.
Yeah. So as it stands, the system decides what type of version change to make. You can see that it has selected a major version. It's bumping the 0.0 to 1.0 because there are structural changes. If it was just typo fixes or like Erin's first edit to the course that she made on the previous course, that was a minor change because you just added some text to it, an existing page.
Yeah.
So
And if I recall previous discussions, the end user instructors will be given the option of accepting and or rejecting these changes. You know,
Yeah.
not using the current version, but using an existing version.
So right now, with the way the system works is whenever an update is published in the instructor view, you will see a badge as to how many publications are available to basically update to. So you can either choose to update or to not update. In the system right now, there's really no concept of rejecting because it's just one way. You can just choose to update your course materials or not, but it'll show you the changes basically that you're kind of accepting.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of them reporting back, you know, that they not accept it, and then we have to figure out which version of the course they can say, well, you're 2 versions behind, therefore you should update the course.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I made a note of that just in my notes to add that because yeah, right now the only way that instructors can see what version they're on is if there's an update available, but we should definitely be showing what version they're on as well.
Thanks, Eli. / Craig.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Aaron,
Yeah.
that's something completely unrelated.
Okay.
When you're adding a question, you made the mistake of giving us a URL. So when you're adding a question, 2 things. One, the targeted feedback is like kind of clunky to add, and I think we really want to encourage instructors to add feedback for all the multiple choice entries. And it defaults to feedback from incorrect answers, which is, you know, generic. And then anyway, I think the way it was in the old version was much better. It was encouraged individual responses. And the second thing was like, check that all that apply. I think, I don't know if there's been research done on this, but they're very, very difficult. It's like asking, if you have 4 choices, it's asking 4 true or false questions all at once. And it's instead of, which is, I think Ken we've eliminated all those in our courses, and Ken's gone to either true or false or just select a multiple choice.
And so what is your
Well, I think like having that in there is just like encouraging people to do that, and it's not maybe that's worth a conversation with the Everly Center about using that, even having that type in there, type of question.
right? I mean, we can't eliminate a type that's used. However, what we can do is when we control the design, I certainly make sure that folks do not use those. Both those and drag and drops I consider catch-all, and kind of in some cases instructors do tend to want to use those types because it packs a lot of information into one question type. I mean, I could talk to you for an hour on multiple
I get that. Yeah.
One of the reasons that, you know, I encouraged Ken to change those because he was complaining about the data and how to review the data on those.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
my
good.
suggestion was to eliminate them But they are useful, and I'll tell you why, when they're useful, when I think they're useful. I think they're useful when you really need to make comparisons against categories of things that go together. So I haven't been able to prove this out because unfortunately there's not a lot of research at all done on activity types. There's been recent, Rachel Van Kampenhout did a study, and the acrobatic folks did a study that did start to look at activity types in terms of engagement, persistence, and performance, which is really interesting. And I'll forward that to you because it's one of the only studies I found that does any kind of research around different activity types.
Yeah, like see that.
But yeah, that's like, we could talk about that philosophically and design wise. But you know, when we're building a system for a lot of variety of folks, not all who might develop quality courses.
Well, I mean, you could have warnings on there. There's all sorts of things you can do, and certainly not having it first would be a good start.
Well, the other thing we have to think about is we are migrating all of our courses, so we have to provide support for all the existing activity types. Or
No, I got that, but you know, there's you in the insert activity, it's the very first thing that shows up.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then maybe have
That's a
some
good
sort
idea.
of warning
We could
when
just
they
change the
click on it.
order to discourage its use a little bit more.
Yeah, and then, you know, some information from the Everly Center, or, you know, like about using this type of question.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I could, like I said, I could talk for, in fact, my team's sick of hearing me talk about multiple select, because I actually really don't like those types.
Yeah. Okay, so we're probably boring the other people. But
Yeah. So I wanted to go back and show some like new content, you know, to Michael's point of what this looks like when you're adding new content. So text block, you know, you just add it like everything else, and here's some text. All the same controls that you have on any other WYSIWYG editor. You know, you can bold, italic, add a link, coding, you know, lists. The other thing you can do is add a web page, you know, iframe, audio clip, YouTube video, image, code, table. So again, all of the very all similar stuff. And you're right, maybe are these are in alphabetical order? That's why my
yes, they are.
So I want to add a multiple choice. So I can attach learning objective here, or I can create a new one. Actually, that one was one I created a new, so I'll do, or I can create a new total. So I already have created an objective, create totally. And I can just choose to create that there, and then it's created in my objectives list. Here's the question. And then here are answers. I'm just going to leave those there. Maybe I'll add a choice group C. I can add as many as I want. And then here's where I do the answer key. Now, what Michael was referring to, I think before, is that there's this feedback for the correct answer. But we added this feedback for all incorrect. So this is not recommended, of course, from our design philosophy, but, you know, because we want targeted feedback for each answer choice, but we have had the request to give generalized feedback. And so this one is the one that, like, any answer selected would give this feedback. So this would be feedback for any incorrect.
I guess the same thing there, that you could discourage that with a note, or encourage good behavior with a note.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, there's this I here. I'm wondering, but I can't seem to get it to work, but.
No, even like not even having the mouse over, just like saying that this is
discouraged.
This is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the NY, and even give a link if you want. And then like the targeted feedback, why can't it just display like the old choice A, choice B, choice C with 3 feedback.
Here would be feedback for A,
Yeah,
feedback for C, or B. And this is feedback for C. So a lot of options is the thing we're adding. And you have to remember we have customers that do good quality pedagogical design that have use cases for these things, which is why they're building here.
yeah, but don't encourage people to be lazy and do something that's not good learning science from the get-go.
Yeah.
Flip it.
You can put the
flip it
target
right.
feedback. They can put the target feedback as the first choice, and then
Yeah.
any other response is the last choice.
Yes, right. That's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
And then we have, and I like April's suggestion too, like to have them grouped under their answer option would make it much easier to enter it all in. So thanks to April for that feedback as well. And then we have the ability to do multiple hints, as we always have. We're adding some guidance here about what kind of hints you can add, and you can add all kinds of hints. And then you can add what we call bottom out hint, which is the answer for like a numerical input question, or even if it's a text input, it's sometimes nice to put the answer in the last hint, just in case students never get it right. So that's multiple choice. You saw the other types of content that we have. We have check out the apply. I can show each of these if you want. Same thing, answer choice in the same way. Like you pick what combinations you want to give feedback for. So you can add targeted feedback for any combination, essentially. And really, you should. If you can't think of unique feedback, this is again my little commentary on multiple select. If you cannot think of unique targeted feedback for every answer combination, then that's the wrong option for a question type. You really are just then creating a series of multiple choice. You don't necessarily need to check for all that apply. What else can I show here? Oh, I want to show off the assessments then too. Oh, I want to show you this. You can do an activity bank selection even as a formative. So if I want, again, this isn't functionality I've played around enough with yet, and it's completely new. But the idea is that you'd be able to create or showcase questions from the activity blank, even as formatives, based on selection criteria here. And I hate to put Eli on the spot, but Eli, do you know if it's to create like a dynamic set of questions, even as formatives, or would you be able to pull questions even as formatives, I guess is the question, so that a different question shows up at different times? Or is it still static? Did I lose Eli? Maybe. Not sure yet. We'll have lots of guidance on this though. So right now I can make a selection from the activity bank based on item type or tags, which is just a cool feature that we didn't have before. So then let me go ahead and show creating a new assessment. Well, I already did. I added a graded assessment page essentially here. And what it is just, you're basically building a summative assessment or quiz in this page, really similar to what you know already about how we generate summative assessments in Echo or for legacy delivery. It shows up as its own page. It also populates a column in the gradebook if you're using an LMS. And again, you can add expressions. This is a way you can either build the questions directly here, just like any other page, or you can use this activity bank selection to create pooling, essentially. The only other thing I want to show off, and I want to show it off with my statistics course, is insights. So for those of you who are familiar with Echo, we do have this ability in Echo to view data that's been populated already by, if the course has already been run through with students, we have the ability to pull that data into Echo so that you can see it right there when you're ready to iteratively improve your course. Same in Torus, only it's even a little more flexible. So these are all the questions that I have in this course. This is that statistics course again. And it's showing me number of attempts for each question, how many get it first correct on the first try, how many eventually get it correct. And then this relative difficulty takes into account both of these, but also hints, how many hints were needed. And you can view these now by page or by objective. And so you'll see there's those objectives aren't. We have a lot of objectives that don't have questions because this is only a portion of the course, but it has all the objectives in it. But I really like, now this is new, adding the actual question ID there. It's really helpful. But then, yeah.
Aaron, is this going to be available beyond specific classes listing, for those of us who are teaching or creating courses used all over?
Right.
Will we gather the 75 individual classes and do it one by one, or can we aggregate all of them to get this sort of statistics?
It's a good question that I don't know the answer to yet. So basically the question is like how to segregate data into the various course sections or various use cases, right? Like you can imagine you're delivering that French course out to 50 institutions. You'd want to maybe see the data by institution or a number of different ways. And so I'm going
to colleges versus 4-year versus
right.
university.
I'm writing that as a question for me to look into. I don't think that's built in yet, but I'll inquire about how that's coming along, if that's on the roadmap. So I think that concludes everything I could possibly show you, quickly. I could go through each, more activity types or build out more stuff, but I think you guys get the sense of what's here, how it's different from our current system, and some of the things that we've learned over the years that we're trying to apply to this new system, make it more streamlined, more flexible for various users, but still retain a lot of the same things that make OLI unique. Are there any other questions or things that you guys want to see? Or I can say when they might be coming around.
In general, looks very good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really impressed with how they're building this. It's clean, it's fresh looking, it's easy to use, easy to publish. We have folks already using it, running courses using Torus. We've been able to support Ken's e-learning students, for example, to rapidly publish and iterate on their courses that they're doing for their projects. So it's really been a joy to use so far. So let me go back to our slides. So I'd like to have a discussion for a little bit on upcoming topics for meetings that, things you'd like to see, functionality you might want me to dig into, discussions we want to have. I can show you, in fact, I should show you the current topic list that was in existence for this past year. So we did, kind of an introduction to this community and this consistent approach to gathering requirements from the community. Then we dug into and discussed some lessons learned from our legacy platform. We had a conversation about Learning Dashboard. That definitely will be one of the topics we revisit, as you can imagine, as well as, these general topics like course design, math support, tool integration. We will be revisiting some of these topics, but I want to make sure that we, like A/B testing will be another one. Right now, the next meeting is meant to be another demo and discussion about next steps or what's on the roadmap coming in the next year, but also probably to reveal some list of topics in the schedule for next year as well. So given all of that, what are some things you'd like to dive into and suggest that we discuss for subsequent meetings? Are there topics you really want to revisit because you feel like you didn't get enough from the last discussion? Are there anything we haven't touched on yet that you want to talk about? And should I consider other formats for these meetings? I don't know what I kind of meant by that, except, I just want to put everything out there. Like, is there a way that you think I can make these meetings more engaging or useful for you? And then just a suggestion here that if you haven't gotten a Torus account yet, I highly encourage you to go out and just put a sandbox course out there and start playing with it. But let's get into discussion. What are your ideas?
I have one that's really minor because I just realized I don't think you showed tags on the questions for knowledge components. And I don't see them there.
Hold on. You mean like how to tag the learning objectives?
Well, yeah, I really want to tag a skill or knowledge component, not a learning objective.
Yeah, I'll show you that. They're one and the same. Like you just type in the language that is the skill, and then you'll be able to type it. You'll be able to tag the skill. Let me go out to my sandbox. That's probably the best place. So like here's check all that apply. It's in here already. Here's where I do the learning objective.
Okay.
It can be a skill as well. So it's whatever, it can be a like, see, it says here's a sub-objective skill or knowledge component. If I go to my objectives, that's actually a skill.
But it can only be 2 levels down. So
Correct.
that has to be a skill at a level below. Is that?
This is a skill of this learning objective.
Yeah, I got, yeah. That's a little confusing. Because then it should come up add a skill under this learning objective. And then you shouldn't be adding learning objectives to assessments. That's just wrong. It should be skill adding just the skills. And I mean, because it does, so you're not really creating sub-objectives, you're creating skills.
It's just terminology, Michael. It's still 2 levels that we still have now.
Yeah, so it's, but.
And most people don't, I mean, not everybody in the world uses the term skill or knowledge component. So we just call them objectives and sub-objectives just to.
Yeah, well, that's wrong. I mean, that's just like, I mean, maybe not knowledge component, but certainly skill. It's not a learning objective. I mean, that's really just wrong.
It's a sub-objective. It could be called that. What?
No one else does.
What?
No one else does.
You'd be surprised. Anyone that has learned course design outside of Carnegie Mellon University probably understands the idea of objectives and
That a
sub-objectives more.
sub-objective is tied to a step in a problem.
They can be anything. It's a general term, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Heard it, haven't come across it in the literature. But okay. And we are Carnegie Mellon, so yeah, just saying.
Okay, noted. So anyway, you can tag to any level that you put in there, essentially. And you do that right at the top of any given activity. So I do want to show off the tagging and activity bank once I get more familiar with doing that. So that's we could have a whole discussion, Michael, if you would like, on what we call things.
I think that's something you, Ken, and I can, and Norm can have a conversation about. So that.
Norm, let me tell you, at some future point, let me tell you a story why I'm not working at NPR right now.
Why you're not what? I missed that.
Working for NPR, it's a matter of just labeling a certain activity.
I'm not
I'm
following.
missing the connection.
Yeah, I'm not following, Mark.
I was interviewed by NPR when I was working in radio, and they said that I missed the cutoff score by one question. The question was based on the terminology used by one brand of audio recorder manufacturer, while I used the terminology for another brand for the exact same function. So if I use the other term, we wouldn't be talking, I'd be working at NPR.
So I'm not sure if you're advocating for
What I'm
using-
saying is labeling doesn't matter.
Communication does, though.
We have found in our extensive support of various people over the globe that not everybody uses our terminology and understands things the same way. Now, we could say, we could go that way and help them understand our way as the way, or we can be a little more flexible to others who also do sound curriculum development processes. I don't know. We'll figure it out though, Michael. I think it's worth a
Okay.
conversation.
Yep.
Okay, what are some other things you guys would like to see more about Torus? Oh, the Canvas integration. That is a good one. I'm not really prepared to show that off right now, but it's definitely a good topic for future meetings. Canvas, LMS integration. In fact, that would probably be a well-attended one as people want to do this more often, connect up to their existing LMSs. An iterative improvement. Yeah. Good one. Demonstrate. I like that one. Yeah, I know, April. That's tough. I mean, we're having a lot of issues with that ourselves. So yeah. So April's putting in the chat. Skills mapping is hard to do in Echo, and at least iteration on skills. You know, we had a lot of insight and views into the system by being able to go to the XML. But that was also because the authoring platform was built over the XML structure, right? So we kind of needed that window and view into the underlying original creations, created files. This is done a little differently, but we still, I get, you still want that kind of insight and be able to have a good streamlined approach. And we might even have a meeting just to talk through how people do iterative improvement so that we can capture the right workflows in Torus to support those various methods. Good ideas. What else? Is there functionality that we haven't even thought of that you all have had some experience with, and maybe other platforms that you'd like to see us tackle or at least talk through?
Discussion board, be nice to have that integrated. Something like Hypothesis is really great.
So what we tend to do, at least what I tell people with the discussion board, we have the ability, we do have custom activity types that allow for discussions to occur between students. The way they're done in OLI now is to actually have an actual, you have to design an activity around that's attached to a learning objective. And that way you can actually track those discussions back and to a learning objective. Having a general discussion board is something that every LMS has. So there's a lot of debate on whether we want to do it that way or we want to actually force sound pedagogy and force discussions to be tied to learning objectives. Yes, rubrics, that's a great idea as well. I would love to see rubrics built into the system.
Well, along those lines, submitting assignments directly in OI would be nice. I mean, a lot of this stuff like the discussion boards and rubrics are in Canvas, but do we need to necessarily go through Canvas? Like for the continuing education that we're developing, we're not going through Canvas, but we may be a odd case.
Well, I think it's a case we want to consider because, you might be an odd case, but you're actually an increasingly, there's more of these cases, these types of cases coming up. Learning dashboard, we are going to have to talk about again, and I'm actually probably going to have some subset conversations as well around learning dashboard. That's going to be intensive. Because it's like, do we do the same thing? Do we reimagine it? That sort of thing. Let's see, let me go back to Torus and just look at what else we need. Something I'd like to see us do probably more of is when we're developing curriculum and we're creating questions, having some guidance here that, this title doesn't show up for students, but it's really important when you're reviewing the data. So, making sure that you have those naming conventions set up ahead of time before you develop courses is really important. How about something like, workflow support? And that could be in creation, that could be for iteration, that could be for learning dashboard use. I'm just thinking of if we're starting to build more guidance into the system in the form of tooltips and suggestions for how you use these features. Maybe something also showing like the workflows that you use to do certain things might be interesting. Standardizing on, that's interesting, April. Formatting. I'm gonna have to just take this as is and put it in this list. Standardizing how things are formatted across different things. Interesting. And I could show off, I should show off probably in another meeting how, what those integration points with an LMS are, so that, you know, you can see, I can show off how a gradebook is populated. So LMS integration features. I also plan, I'm working on right now some ideas about how to do iterative improvement, how to do data analysis and iterative improvement. And I can imagine once we have a nice workflow for that, you know, building in some guidance around that. Admin tools. So I think Mark alerted kind of was headed this direction, but what kinds of admin tools? So and what I mean by admin tools that I think Mark was kind of suggesting is how do you do some things in the system to just see what others are doing, or to manage data from course use, or like, you know, see institutions using courses, any of the other kind of admin tools you'd like to see built in. Like right now, let's see, what can I do now? I can see accounts and institutions. This activity management is kind of like what activities can be turned on and off. This branding area is probably, you know, new-ish. We have different branding options. So just in the sense of like, if you're trying to manage your course sections that are in use at other institutions, what might be some of the other admin tools you'd like to see? No, just a suggestion for.
Hi, Erin, it's April. The comment that I just threw in the chat, I think, is similar to looking at courses across institutions, but how to administratively manage CMUP and CMUQ versions. How do we maintain updates, you know, with our orgs being different and only a subset of the content is adjusted based on campus.
Mm-hmm.
I think I shared before, we were using that export course PDF and then comparing two PDFs in Acrobat, but that PDF doesn't give us any of our assessment content. So it was really just exposition, but it was something.
Right. Oh, that's another thing. Providing static versions of content. So like PDF printing. So another, that's an example of something we've taken a hard stance on over the years that we just can't anymore, which is, you know, we have always said we don't offer printing printable materials because we really want students to learn by doing, and so we didn't want to offer printable versions of our courses. But it's just something we can't take a hard line on anymore. People want printable versions. There's accessibility reasons to have them. So now we're really trying to think through, what does that mean to provide a printed version of an OLI course? Do we generate all the exposition and then add the activities in a way that can be worked on in like a workbook? One of the hard lines we've taken in the past is we don't do that because then we don't collect the data. But again, it's something that we can't just not do because we're philosophically opposed to it. It's something that's expected of these types of systems.
Well, in my request, surprisingly has not come from students. Mine is more for authoring and editing because with a lot of the subject matter experts, I'm not giving them, final say or direct access to edit the existing materials. So I need a separate place for them to propose changes, but not make live revisions, and quote unquote live being in Echo.
That's right. And that's great because this is something I do all the time too. I use student workers primarily to cut and paste content into Google Docs where I can then start to work with a team on subject matter experts saying, oh, maybe we should change this content, suggesting activities, and then me having a back and forth on, okay, well, maybe this feedback is a little too general, maybe try this. You need a space to do that. And so like, yeah, getting that content out in a way, I actually have been talking with Darren about this, like, how do we get this content out in a way where it can be collaborated on? I personally don't want that built into the system. I've never seen it done in a clean way that isn't confusing. I'd rather just use Google Docs that already has that functionality down. I think at Acrobatic, we tried building review tools into the authoring platform and it was just a mess. And then never used, even though a lot of time was spent on that functionality. But we still do need a way to be able to do that for sure. Good point. And as much as we want to, I should have maybe even put ingestion tools because we're working more on that too. And like export tools. So kind of along the line of being able to get the content out in a different format. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up in a couple minutes here, unless you guys can think of other things you want to discuss. Thanks so much. Michael, thank you for giving me some ideas for things that we need to probably talk amongst ourselves about a little bit more before we go forward. And I know we're always updating and changing things. There's a lot of times where the tech team wants to just get functionality in place, and we can always revisit what things are called and what the UX design is. And well, it's always helpful to have your opinions, though, for sure. I appreciate it.
You're very kind.
I do appreciate you.
Oh.
Even if I argue back.
It's okay. I can take it.
I know. So so yeah, thanks, April, and thanks for coming. Thanks everyone for coming, and please look for the reminder for the next meeting. And we'll do something similar. I'll try and give it a little different flair for next time, so that you're not getting the same demo. I probably will dig in a little more to like some of the stuff that I am not familiar with for this demo, but I'll get familiar with for the next time. So it's like that activity bank usage is really interesting to me. I can't wait to play a lot more with that and get familiar with that, for example. And so, and I'll highlight any changes because the system is changing all of the time. But that doesn't mean you can't use it now. It's in use, it's delivering courses. Go in, play, and really imagine the possibilities and bring those ideas back to me and the team. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend.
Oh, wait a minute, Norm, are you really there?
No, that's not Norm. I don't know who it is, but it's not Norm.
Oh, okay, he's gone.
It was probably Sasha or someone, because they, for some reason, when my team comes in to this Zoom, they're always labeled as Norm. I don't know why.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll talk to you later. Have a good
Okay.
weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.